السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله وعلى آله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. Alhamdulillah, we have gathered again here today. Idhnillahi ta'ala. Today is the 25th of October 2019. And we'll be continuing with our lesson number 11. Were yours using this book on page number 28? Quiet and loud recitation in the 5 prayers and others. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to recite loudly in the morning prayer and in the first 2 rak'ahs of Maghrib and Isha, and quietly in Dhuhr, Asr, the 3rd rak'ah of Maghrib and the last 2 rak'ah of Isha.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وعلى من تبع هداهم إلى يوم الدين. Now we're coming from the described, or the prayer described, to the way that we recite in the prayer. So here it says quiet in the recitation or saying it loudly in those daily or 5 daily prayers. Prophet of Allah, this is now with the consensus of all scholars. He used to recite loud in the 2 rak'ah of the Fajr, and also in the first 2 rak'ah of the Maghrib, and the first 2 rak'ah of the Isha. That's with consensus of all scholars. Again, they used to recite loud, not silent, in the 2 rak'ah of the Fajr, and in the first 2 rak'ah of the Maghrib, the first 2 rak'ah of the Isha. And also with the consensus of all scholars, with all the ahadith indicating this, that he used to recite silently in the 4 rak'ah of the Dhuhr, and the 4 rak'ah of the Asr, and the 3rd rak'ah of the Maghrib, and the last 2 rak'ah of the Isha. Now,
they could tell when he...
Can I ask you to recite for me footnote for that one?
Number 2. There is ijma', consensus of opinion of the Muslims on this, with successors passing it on from the predecessors, along with the authentic hadith which established this, as Nawawi has said, and some of them follow. See also Al-Irwa.
However, he is reciting silently from the movement of his beard, so that we learn from this, number 1, that the beard of the Prophet ﷺ was big. It was small, cannot be seen from behind. They would have just said that we could see it from the movement of his jaws. So from his, they used to lower it from his beard, and his beard is big. Number 2, that when he recites silently, he moves his tongue, his mouth. So it's not he imagines he's reciting, because some of the people when they recite silently, they're doing like this. What are you doing, brother? I'm reading Fatiha. I'm not reading Fatiha. You're imagining that you're reading Fatiha. Fatiha has to be like this. So that's the second one. Third one is that they know it with the beard movement. That means there is no sound. So it's not like this, where it's going to be annoying your neighbors. Okay, so it is movement of the beard. So it is just, and some people as well, even they don't make a noise or a sound, but they make as well a disturbing, provoking sound from the way that they close their mouth and open it. So, now they're eating or they're reciting. So as well, you need to bear in mind that you have got some neighbors here while you're praying. So I make sure that I'm not going to disturb them. Okay? And sometimes he would make them to hear the ayah. This is now where we know that the movement of his beard was for recitation. Because to judge that he was reciting Quran from the movement of his beard on its own, that would not be a fair judgment, because he could be making dhikr of Allah. Do you understand? Even though that he's at the beginning of the prayer, just to move his beard, we can't just say he's reciting Quran. But because sometimes he would make us to hear the ayah. Why? He wants us to know that he is reciting Quran. And number 2, he wants us to know which surah we are reciting. So when we said before that what he recites in Dhuhr, what he recites in the Asr, what he recites in the Maghrib, and so on and so forth, the Dhuhr and the Asr, they are silent. How can we know? I mean, sometimes he used to raise up his voice in order to show them that he's reciting Quran, and number two, what surahs he's reciting. That's why he would raise up his voice, because of the second issue, which is Hadith Qatada. Qatada, from that, the narration from Qatada, that it made us to know that when he was moving his beard, that means he was reciting Quran. It was a proof, it's a Quran recitation. Otherwise it could be, as I said, without this narration, it could be he was doing something else. It could have been the dhikr of Allah, not the recitation of the Quran. Now,
he also recited loudly in Friday prayer and the two Eid prayers, in the prayer for rain and in the eclipse prayer.
so these prayers also, they were loud recitations. That is Al-Jumu'ah, which everybody knows, where the gathering of the people used to recite loud. And also the Salat al-Eidain, Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha, used to recite loud. And the Istisqa, which is seeking rain, and I don't think you will be praying this in England. You'll be asking Allah to stop the rain, not seeking for the rain. But in the Muslim countries where there's no rain, or the rain is very rare, you find people coming out for the sake of praying the Istisqa, and it is loud recitation. And Al-Kusuf, which maybe you've prayed it here. Again, it's very rare because the Kusuf, it does take place, but it's always obscured or being hidden because of the clouds. Al-Kusuf, which is the sun eclipse. So we say here, Al-Kusuf, it's meant here, Kusuf al-Shams. That is the sun eclipse. So the sun eclipse, that means during the day. And if it's during the day, Prophet ﷺ would recite loudly, even if it is during the day, because of Salat al-Kusuf. And those salawat that have been mentioned, al-Jumu'ah, al-Eidain, al-Istisqa, al-Kusuf, are salawat where lots of people come to it, people will be called to it, to the gathering. For Salat al-Jumu'ah there's an adhan, for Salat al-Eidain there will be a date and a day set for them to come out. And also for Salat al-Istisqa there will be people arranged to come to a certain time, to a certain place. And also the Kusuf, when they see the sun. And these days, of course, calculation helps and tell us what time Kusuf is going to take place. And all we just do is just wait for it to take place and see it with our own eyes, and we pray the Kusuf. All of those salawats, all of them, Prophet of Allah used to pray them with loud what? Recitation. He would not recite them, would not lead them in silent recitation. طيب, تفضلنا.
Quiet and loud recitation in the night prayer, tahajjud.
Right, so here, quiet and silent and loud recitation in tahajjud, salat al-layl, that is not in salat al-isha. Isha, we have said, first two rak'ah is loud, last two rak'ah is silent. So we're talking about the salat al-layl. Salat al-layl, that means the voluntary prayer during the night. Now, yes please, can I just ask for air, some air please? It's getting hot. Just that fan coming. Is the heater on, yeah?
Yeah.
That's why. Oh, heater, subhanAllah.
Footnote. Abdul Haq said in a tahajjud 90-1, as for the voluntary prayer during the day, there is nothing authentic from him sallallahu alayhi wasallam regarding either quiet or loud recitation, but it would seem that he used to recite quietly during them. It is reported from him sallallahu alayhi wasallam that once during the daytime he passed by Abdullah ibn Hudafa, who was praying and ibn Hudafa.
No, Hudafa. Yes.
Who was praying and reciting loudly. So he said to him, O Abdullah, let Allah hear, not us. But this hadith is not strong.
Right, so he says here, Abdul Haq al-Ishbili in his book At-Tahajjud, he says, as for the nawafil during the daylight, the day, it's not during the night, then we don't have any narration regarding whether he used to do it loudly or silently. But we could see here that the focus was upon the night prayer. It means if it's the night prayer, sometimes loud and sometimes it is sometimes it's silent. You can see that the only way that you could really describe the night prayer is to be, the day prayer is to be silent. It's only to be loud when there's a proof. So the night prayer would have been loud the opposite, unless there's a proof that it was silent. So the day prayers is always what? Silent. Unless there's other proof, it's being prayed what? Loud. And there is no proof, so it stays silent. And the night prayer is to be prayed loud unless there's a proof to be prayed silent, which there is. Okay, which there is. So there is a prayer the other night, prayed silent and prayed loud as well. Now here he says, first paragraph.
As for night prayer, he would sometimes recite quietly and sometimes loudly. And he used to recite in his house such that he could be heard in the courtyard.
Courtyard?
Yeah.
Courtyard. Right, Al-Hujra. Does it have any, what is Al-Hujra there? Does it have any footnote, that one? In Arabic we do have number 3.
It says
Al-Hujra, which is Abu Dawud
Tirmidhi in Shama'il with Hassan Isnad.
Okay, after that?
The hadith means that he used to moderate between quietness and loudness.
There's nothing with Al-Hujra?
No, I didn't.
Al-Hujra, yeah, you got this one.
Well, in English we're talking, we're not in Arabic, Shaykh. We have in Arabic, we're talking in English.
In English it's not there.
We don't have it. Okay, right, let me translate myself. Here, he says that the Prophet ﷺ used to recite in the night, sometimes loud and sometimes silent. And also sometimes in between. So if he is praying loud, he will be praying what? In between. Not too loud, not too low, as we're going to see inshallah. He says here he would pray, if he prays in the day, in the house, his recitation would be audible to the person who is in the hujrah. And the hujrah, we have a footnote here. Al-hujrah, that is the hujrah that is being taken next to the door. In our country, we know it, Somalia, Zanzibar, they know it, that there's, when you get to the house inside, there is like a place which is before you get into the house. This is where the outsiders, the foreigners, when they come, in case they see what is inside the house, like a curtain. It's not a brick, yes? It's like a curtain. So as soon as you come from the outside door, there is something as well else to prevent them seeing the rest of the house. It's called al-hujrah, the isolated space for the guests to come in. That's called al-hujrah. So it's not isolated by bricks. So it's not the one mentioned in the Quran, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يُنَادُونَكَ بِوَرَاءِ الْحُجُرَاتِ. This is not the one. Al-hujurat here means what? Rooms. This hujrah means what? That's, as I said, a separate place, or separate spot, or space, which is as soon as you come from the outside door, coming, before you enter the whole house, there is that place for the guests not to come in straight away, just for the sake of the people who are from the women, make sure that they are not being exposed. That's the hujrah. So it's made of curtain or anything, and that is, his recitation is not really loud, okay, that loud. So he said, وَكَانَ إِذَا قَرَأَ وَهُوَ فِي الْبَيْتِ. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said, صَلَاةُ الْمَرْأَةِ فِي بَيْتِهَا خَيْرٌ مِّن صَلَاتِهَا فِي حُجْرَتِهَا. The woman's prayer inside her house is better than the prayer in that hujrah, which is next to the what? Next to the door. And صَلَاتُهَا فِي خِدْرِهَا, and her prayer where she stays and sleeps, better than her prayer in the middle of her house. That means the more she secludes herself, isolates herself, the better she is. So the hujrah, that's the spot. طيب.
Occasionally,
Abdullah ibn Abi Qais, Rahimahullah, he asked Aisha radiallahu anha, كيف كانت قراءة النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم? How was the recitation of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم during the night? That means it's qiyam. So, أكان يسر بالقراءة أم يجهر? Was he reciting loudly or was he reciting silently? She said, كل ذلك قد كان يفعل. All of that he used to do. That means silent and he was loud. Abdullah, the narrator, which is Ibn Abi Qais, he said, Alhamdulillah الذي جعل في الأمر سعة. Praise be to Allah that Allah made this matter as to be flexible. Flexible means what? You could recite loud and you could recite what? Silent. Alhamdulillah الذي جعل في الأمر سعة. So the elaboration from the scholars, they said regarding this issue, so كل يقرأ, each would be reciting according to his the strength, according how he is at that moment, at that day, at that night, I would say, how he was really awake and he's pulled to the recitation. So as long as he bear the follow, his ikhlas, his niyyah, he's not showing off. So if he's reciting on his own, there's nobody there, ikhlas is there. But if there is, for example, other members of the family in the house, and he's reciting, he needs to make sure that when he makes it loud, that is being penetrated by the riyah. Do you understand me? Like he wants his father, his mother to hear him, his brother to hear him. So he's not making riyah, because riyah can jump into it, because he wants to show off. So as long as he's reciting a recitation that would not damage, if he's a person, MashaAllah, tabarakallah, there's no problem. Like Abu Bakr, we're going to see now. Abu Bakr, ikhlas is 100%. 100%, MashaAllah. So there's no problem for him to raise up his voice. But when you raise up your voice, you have to ask a question, selfish question. Am I raising it for the sake of that? Is flexibility here, or is it just to do with I'm trying to make that person who is in that room to hear me? So be careful. That's what it is. But also, وَكَانَ,
occasionally he would raise his voice more than that until someone lying in bed could hear him. That is outside, from outside the courtyard.
Arish. Hani, the cousin of the Prophet ﷺ, for example, she was living in a different house. The house is stuck. Hani, his house, her stuck is to the room of Aisha. So when the Prophet ﷺ would recite, he would recite even, he make his voice louder. That is not just now the hujra which is next to the door, but even louder, that is penetrating that mud bricks, or mud bricks, whatever, it's not soundproof anyway, to the other room. Hani, she's able to hear him reciting the Quran. So that is as well to show you sometimes like this and sometimes like that. Okay, so it is kharij al-hujra, she would hear. Now,
he ordered Abu Bakr and Umar, Allah be pleased with them, likewise when he came out at night to find Abu Bakr, Allah be pleased with him, praying in a low voice. And he passed by Umar ibn al-Khattab, Allah be pleased with him, who was praying in a loud voice. Later, when gathered around, the Prophet ﷺ said, "O Abu Bakr, I passed by you, and you are praying in a low voice." He said, "I let him whom I was consulting here, O Messenger of Allah." He said to Umar, "I passed by you, and you are praying raising your voice." So he said, "O Messenger of Allah, I repel drowsiness and keep the devil away." The Prophet ﷺ said, "Abu Bakr, raise your voice a little bit, and Umar, lower your voice a little bit."
Okay, so the Prophet ﷺ, he was passing by Abu Bakr while he was praying, and he passed by Umar while he was praying. And he had heard Umar al-Khattab loud recitation, and he had heard Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he was lowering so much his voice when he's reciting. And that all of it during the night. And we know for a fact that Abu Bakr, he prays which part of the night? The beginning or the end? Which part of the night he prays, the night prayer? First of the night or the last of the night? No, it's the first. And Umar, he prays which one? Last. Who's better?
Last.
Which better is better than the companions? Who's better, Abu Bakr or Umar? Is there any comparison? No comparison. Abu Bakr is better. Fine. Abu Bakr is better, yet Umar, he prays in the better time. But you see the better time because Umar al-Khattab, he was keen. أخذ بالحزم. And he knows he's going to be waking up. But Abu Bakr, he أخذ بالأكيد, بالأشورity, that he's assured. Okay? So that he had prayed what? At the beginning, because he's worried he's going to wake up before Fajr. So one which it depends upon which person he is. If this person he knows is going to be waking up before Fajr, let him delay his night prayer at the end just before Fajr. And if he thinks that he's going to sleep until Fajr, then it is better for him to pray at the beginning of the night. In both cases, please do not pray it in the masjid after the Isha. When people see it after Isha, start knocking the whole 8-night prayer. Here, the witr, it becomes like a habit after the prayer of the Isha. Go home and pray at home. Get yourself to pray your witr at home. Not to do your Isha and your witr and tahajjud in the masjid, except if it is Taraweeh, which is in Ramadan. So when he passed by Abu Bakr and Umar, it looks like that he passed by them different nights. one which is at the beginning, one at the end of the night. He saw Abu Bakr, and he heard him praying. And when he's praying, he's trying his best to lower his voice. And Umar is the opposite. So when they got together to the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Abu Bakr, I have prayed, I have passed by you, you were praying, trying to lower your voice. He said, Messenger of Allah, whom I'm calling, which is Allah, is able to hear me. Asma'tu man najayt. Ya Rabbi, do you understand me? I'm the one talking to the Prophet, Allah the Almighty, he's able to hear me. Why do I need to shout? Okay, and he said to him, I passed by you and you were praying and you were really raising your voice. He said, Messenger of Allah, I'm trying to wake up the one who's asleep from the family and all of that, and also to expel the shaitan. And I said, loud. So the Prophet said, Abu Bakr, raise up your voice a bit. Raise your voice a bit. Now raise your voice a bit, this is for Abu Bakr, ikhwani. Not for everybody. You could raise up your voice as long as I said, expressing yourself. You don't need for riyah or not. Abu Bakr is 100% ikhlas. So when the Prophet told him, raise up your voice, he's talking to a man whom he knows that there is no way for the shaitan to beautify for him the recitation of his in order to show off. No. And in general, recitation of the Quran in silent, unless there is a proof, it's better because you're doing sadaqah what hiddenly, in general. But here there's a proof to say it sometimes loud. But loud here, as I said, if you're on your own, mashallah, make it loud, because sometimes the loud recitation helps you to, listen to your own recitation of the Quran. But as I said, sometimes if it's loud for the people to hear it, you're spoiling your recitation. So, in tubdu sadaqat, فَنِعِمَّنِ. That is, if you show the sadaqah, then it's mashallah, it's good enough. وَإِن تُخْفُوهَا وَتُؤْتُوهَا الْفُقَرَاءَ. But if you hide it and give it to the fuqara, then it is better for you. So it's better to hide it, but let's say, for example, that this person wants to give sadaqah openly for the sake of other people to follow him. MashaAllah. It's a good cause, a good intention. He wants people to see him. Allah knows what is in his heart, so that they could follow his example. Another person is doing the same thing, so that other people say, wow, look how much he's giving for sadaqah. Two different cases. So it depends on what you are after in your loud recitation. Because in the following hadith, Prophet ﷺ used to say,
he used to say, the one who recites the Quran loudly is like the one who gives charity loudly. And the one who recites the Quran quietly is like the one who gives charity quietly.
Please understand the following. When the Prophet ﷺ said, he who recites the Quran loudly is like giving sadaqah openly, in front of everybody, it doesn't mean he's condemning it. He's not condemning it. He's not saying this is wrong. He's just giving you an example. Because sometimes, as I said, giving the sadaqah openly would be better to encourage other people. So we are, for example, waiting, this guy, he's the head of the family, he's the head of the tribe. They're waiting for him to give sadaqah. So if he gives sadaqah hiddenly, nobody would know. But if he knows it if he does it in front of everybody, he gives sadaqah, we'll give sadaqah like him as well. To follow his example. That's a good way to give sadaqah. When the Prophet ﷺ, he saw some people came into his masjid, and they were really poor, and they were dressed up in a very poor way. Prophet Allah, he was really upset. So he said, you can give sadaqah with dirham, dinar and all of that. One person went home, he brought some charity. When they saw it, other one followed suit. So this person now had the hasanah of every person gave his sadaqah. As the Prophet he said, he who does hasanah, then he will have all the hasanat, the ones who followed him. So mashallah, how many people had followed him. So if you give the sadaqah openly, for the sake of telling the people, no problem. But be careful, because when you are doing it openly, you are exposed to riyah. When you're doing it hiddenly, you're not exposed to riyah. Okay? Your riyah is not there. Alhamdulillah. طيب.
What he sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to recite in the different prayers.
Okay, before we do that, here I've got Ibn al-Arabi. He says in Arab al-Ahwadi, قال اختلف الناس في أي المقامين أفضل the scholars have differed regarding which one is better, to recite loud or to recite that is silent. For verily, he says, there is especially more double reward when you are, for example, doing it in a way which is ikhlas. So he says that it depends upon the person, in which situation he is. And if he's a person who is having ikhlas, well, alhamdulillah, no harm to do it silent, loudly, for the sake of, as I said, other people would follow suit, because maybe he wants the other family to pray the tahajjud prayer, so he's making it loud for them. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Faddalna with all time.
What he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to recite in the different prayers. As for which surahs and ayat he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to recite in prayer, this varied according to the different prayers. The details now follow, beginning with the first of the 5 prayers.
Right, so let's just see what the Prophet ﷺ used to recite in the obligatory and also the voluntary prayer. First prayer,
Fajr prayer. He sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to recite the longer mufassal surahs, hence he sometimes recited Al-Waqi'ah, which is Surah 56, and similar surahs in 2 rak'ahs. He recited from Surah Tur, which is Surah number 52, during the farewell pilgrimage. Sometimes he will recite Surah Qaf, or sometimes he will recite the shorter mufassal surahs, such as when the sun is folded up, Takwir, Surah number 81.
But before we just continue, we have to understand, as we said before, what is Al-Mufassal. Al-Mufassal starts from Surah Qaf. Now, Mufassal is, there is Tuwal, and there is Qisar, and there is Wasat, in between. Tuwal al-Mufassal, as we said, is a difference among the scholars. The 2 opinions which are well known, Tuwal al-Mufassal is the first 7 surahs after Qaf, including Qaf. So after Qaf, 7 surahs, this is called Tuwal al-Mufassal. And Qisar al-Mufassal, which is after that, whatever is behind this, is called Qisar al-Mufassal. It was said also, Tuwal al-Mufassal is all the way from Qaf until Juz' Amma. Juz' Amma. And the middle of the Mufassal is from Juz' Amma up to Surah Al-Duha. And Qisar al-Mufassal is from Al-Duha until the end. So I repeat that again, Al-Mufassal starts from Qaf. The Tuwal al-Mufassal, one opinion, is the first 7 surahs after Surah Qaf. And the Qisar, which is after that until the end of the Quran. Or the other opinion is there's Tuwal, which is the Tuwal from Qaf until Juz' Amma. And then there's the Wasat, wal Mufassal, from Juz' Amma, from Amma until Al-Duha. And the Qisar from Al-Duha, including the Duha. Qisar, the short one, until the end. طيب. So in Surah Al-Fajr, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would recite with the Tuwal al-Mufassal. So he would recite Al-Waqi'ah in the 2 rak'ah. And sometimes he would recite Surah Al-Tur, Hajjat al-Wada'. He would recite Qaf wal-Quran al-Majid in the first rak'ah. And sometimes he would recite the short Mufassal, إِذَا الشَّمْسُ كُوِّرَتْ. And also he recited once, now, Fadal.
Once he recited when the earth is shaken, zilzal, in both rak'ah, so that the narrator say, I do not know whether the Messenger of Allah forgot or recited on purpose.
Right, and one day he recited إِذَا زُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ زِلْزَالَهَا twice, in the first rak'ah after the Fatiha, and then after the Fatiha in the second rak'ah. So he repeated that surah twice. The narrator, he said, I don't know, did the Prophet ﷺ forget, or did he recite that deliberately? Of course he recited that deliberately. Because regardless if he forgot or deliberately, Prophet ﷺ did not elaborate, so the companions, they took that as okay to recite, that is, the surah twice in 2 rak'ah. You remember when last time we talked about that man who was reciting what? Surah Al-Ikhlas. He could took it from there maybe. He saw it from this. That is Ikhlas in the first, and then after that a surah, and then the second rak'ah Ikhlas, and then another surah. So Prophet of Allah, he recited that, and إِذَا زُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ زِلْزَالَهَا is a very, very short surah. Also,
once on a journey, he recited, say, I seek refuge with the Lord of the daybreak, Al-Falaq, and say, I seek refuge with the Lord of mankind, Nas. He also said to Uqba ibn Amir, may Allah be pleased with him, recite the Al-Mu'awwidatayn in your prayer, for no seeker of refuge has sought refuge by means of anything like that.
okay. Also, he had recited in the journey. It doesn't mean in the journey you have only do it in the journey. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ. But when the people are in the journey, okay, usually they are tired. And they don't like long recitations. They're very tired. So they might make them more tired as well. Imam has to be caring for the people behind him. He should know that there are people who are tired, people are old, people are ill. So Prophet of Allah during the journey or during any time, as إِذَا زُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ زِلْزَالَهَا, as well as short, he recited it when he was not in a journey. So قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ. He was reciting that. And once he said to Uqba ibn Amr, Hadith Uqba ibn Amr Juhayni radiallahu anhu, that he met me, the Prophet ﷺ, he took hold of my hand. It's a long hadith. And he said to me, shall I ala u'limuka, for the best surah, for the best three surahs which are revealed. Listen, Torah, Injil, Zabur, and Quran. So these three surahs, you'll find them where? In the Bible, the Old Testament of Jews, and the Zabur of Prophet Dawood, and of course they are in the Quran. He said, do not forget them, and do not sleep a night without reciting them. And فَأَقْرَأَنِي قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ. These three surahs. So he said, since he told me not to forget them, I never forgot them. And since he told me not to sleep a night, before I recite them, I would not sleep a night until I recite them. These are the three quls. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ. Don't forget to memorize them, which most of you memorize them, and not to sleep a night until you recite them. Prophet of Allah, he recited قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ in the Fajr. And we added in that hadith the third surah, which is قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ, Surah Al-Ikhlas. Tafadhal.
Sometimes he used to recite more than that. He would recite 60 ayahs or more. One of the narrators said, I do not know whether this was in each rak'ah or in total.
So here the Prophet ﷺ, he come out from the Mufassal now. It's not Qaf now, it's going to be maybe Surah Al-Baqarah, maybe Surah Al-Imran. So he recited now 60 ayah. He said, some of the narrators, whether in the 2 rak'ah 60 ayah, that means 30 or 30, or 25 or 40 and 20, or is it 16 each? Okay?
He used to recite Surah Al-Rum and sometimes Surah Yasin. Once he prayed in the Subh.
Surah Al-Rum, he had recited it, and there is here, we find a story. If you just hang on a second, please. A man from the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, he said that he prayed with the Prophet of Allah the prayer of the Fajr, and he recited Surah Al-Rum. Alif Lam Mim Ghulibat Rum. Prophet of Allah, he made a mistake while he was making the recitation. When the man prayed, when the Prophet of Allah had prayed, after the prayer, he said to the companions, listen, very important to know this, because that's why I brought this narration. And this is authenticated by our Shaykh Al-Albaani Rahimahullāh and other scholars. He said, مَا بَالُ أَقْوَامٍ يُصَلِّونَ مَعَنَا لَا يُحْسِنُونَ الطَّهُورَ. That why we find some people praying with us, will not making proper wudu. وَذَلِكَ فَإِنَّمَا يُلَبِّسُ عَلَيْنَا الْقُرْآنَ أُولَٰئِكَ. Those are the ones who are making us making mistakes in the recitation of the Quran. Allahu Akbar. So, the effect of somebody on somebody in his ibadah can be seen from this hadith. That means if you are in company with some people who are no good, you're going to be as well affected by that. It's not just to do with the prayer, with anything. Here, the Prophet of Allah, he is a prophet. Quran comes on to him, and with Quran we take it from him. Yet he made a mistake in Surah Al-Rum. And after the prayer, he said, مَا بَالُ أَقْوَامٍ يُصَلُّونَ مَعَنَا لَا يُحْسِنُونَ الطَّهُورَ. Why we find people who are praying with us, but they're not doing the wudu properly. I'm not saying to the Imam now every time he makes a mistake, hang on a second, brothers, who has not done good wudu here. It could be him, the Imam is not really hafid properly. I'm saying the Prophet ﷺ, who is the one, Quran came down onto him. But the effect, you see, the effect of that. From that we could see that, as some of the scholars, they said, a huge effect from that onto the person. And let me read you as well here something which I have sent onto the WhatsApp from the Aqwal al-Ulama regarding this issue. They said this is isnad sahih wa matnun hasan, and it's got a secret ingredient, sirrun ajib wa naba'un gharib, and some information which is, the person finds it amazing, that the Prophet ﷺ has been affected by the incomplete wudu of those who had leaden. He's been affected with the incomplete wudu of those whom the Prophet of Allah led them. So this is an indication that the salat of the ma'moom, the person who is behind the imam, muta'alliqatun, is linked bi salat al-imam, with the imam salah. And he says here as well, this effect also takes place between the friends. So it is not just the salah. So the companionship, it will affect those who are imperfections of their righteousness, and it will take place in things that Allah knows best about. So for example, this person is mashallah righteous, but something had happened from him, maybe the effect of those who are with him. Nah.
So once he prayed the subh, that is Fajr prayer in Makkah, and started reciting Surah Al-Mu'minun, Surah number 23, until when he got to the mention of Musa and Harun, or the mention of Isa, one of the narrators was not sure, he started coughing, and so made ruku'.
Right, so once the Prophet ﷺ, he had started Surah Al-Mu'min, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. طيب. And then when he started this surah, and he reached, says here the narrator, maybe mentioning of Musa or Harun, and that is the ayah, as you have got the ayah in Arabic, ثُمَّ أَرْسَلْنَا مُوسَى وَأَخَاهُ هَارُونَ بِآيَاتِنَا وَسُلْطَانٍ مُبِينٍ. You have that?
Yeah.
Translate please.
Then we sent Musa and his brother Harun with our signs and manifest authority.
Or the narrator says maybe it could be Isa, وَجَعَلْنَا ابْنَ مَرْيَمَ وَأُمَّهُ آيَةً وَآوَيْنَاهَا إِلَى رَبْوَةٍ ذَاتِ قَرَارٍ وَمَعِينٍ. And
we made the son of Maryam and his mother as a sign. We gave them both shelter on high ground, affording rest and security, and furnished with springs.
Which is the 4 ayat after this ayah. It could be to this one, could be the other one. Okay? He coughed. أَخَذَتْهُ سَعْلًا فَرَكَعَ. He coughed. So here we find the proof, number 1, that coughing, it does not invalidate the prayer. That's in deliberate coughing. If a person is reciting Quran and a person behind him deliberately coughing in order for the Imam to what? Stop the recitation or to annoy him or he doesn't like him, he's invalidating his own prayer. Do you understand that? Person who's deliberately making like to make him stop or to annoy the Imam, that's deliberate and that will invalidate your prayer. But if it's a normal recitation and a normal coughing, it's no problem. Also we learn that it's to stop the recitation because you're coughing, better than to have long recitation which is coughing. Do you understand that? So if you are a person starting to cough, then it's better for you to shorten the recitation. Even if you have planned to recite, mashallah, Surah Yusuf, all of it. But you coughed, ya akhi, and you know you're going to be coughing. So stop it, rather than to annoy the people with your recitation, every 2 words, 3 words, cough, 3, 4 words, cough. Khalas. Cut the recitation. Here the Prophet of Allah, he cut his recitation, which is very good. And this happens also, if you remember last time, Prophet of Allah, he stopped his recitation because of what? A baby crying. Baby crying. He stopped recitation. He wanted to make it long. But here a woman, a mother, she's going to be concerned about her baby. So he made it fast for her in order for her to attend her baby.
Sometimes he will lead them in Fajr with a Safar, Surah number 77. In Fajr on Friday, he will recite a Sajda.
As-Safat. Here, Hadith Abdullah ibn Umar. He says, كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا يأمرنا بالتخفيف وإن كان لا يأمنا بالصفات في الصبح. Prophet of Allah is to command us to wake takhfif. Takhfif is what? Light recitation. Yet, he used to lead us in the subh with what? As-Safat. Is Imam considered Safat to be khafif or thaqil? Thaqil. So the people who consider Safat thaqil. Prophet Allah used to say to the Imams, be khafif. So the khafif, according to the Prophet, is like Safat. But the khafif, according to the people, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ إِنَّا نَعْطَيْنَاكَ الْكَوْثَرَ مُدْهَامَّتَانِ. That's the khafif for them. They don't know the khafif is a Safat as well. But the Imam, when I say the khafif to the people, it's thaqil, this is not khafif. Very, very heavy to take it. Safat, all of it? Maybe 3, 4 ayat for the Safat, but not the whole of Safat.
182
So please make sure.
182 ayahs.
Yeah. So please make sure that when you understand what is takhfif here, okay, you understand what is takhfif. So the Prophet of Allah, he had, and also the takhfif according to the people behind. Look at Mu'adh. Remember our story last week? Mu'adh. He recited Al-Baqarah. Prophet told him what? يا أخي والضحى. What's wrong with والضحى? وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَدَ وَالشَّمْسِ وَضُحَاهَا. What's wrong with that? Because there's a boy like that behind him. Was a Prophet of Allah behind him is Abu Bakr, Umar, Mu'adh ibn Jabal like him. No problem to recite the Musaffat. Okay, even if you recite the Safat, I'm sure Mu'adh, with that story and the boy will complain and leave him as well and go somewhere else. Because for him it's too much. Especially during the Isha prayer. طيب. After that he says,
in Fajr on Friday, he will recite a Sajda, Surah number 32, in the first rak'ah, and in the second, Ad-Dahr, Surah number 76.
Right. Fa'idah. You should say here that he used to pray on the Fajr of the Jum'ah, Alif Lam Mim Tanzil As-Sajda. And this is the first rak'ah, and then the second rak'ah, Hal Ata Ala Al-Insan, or they call it Surah Al-Insan or Surah Al-Dahr. 3 names for it. Okay? In the second rak'ah. Basically, we need to know the following, that there is Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar, he said, Fa'idah, he says that I did not find in any of the narrations of these 2 surahs that the Prophet of Allah prostrated in Surah Al-Sajda. Again, Imam Hafid bin Hajar, he said, I did not find in any authentic narration when the Prophet of Allah used to recite Surah Al-Sajdah, Alif Lam Mim, in the first rak'ah, that he used to what? Make sujood tilaw. The one which is being said from Abdullah ibn Abbas is unauthentic. It is not authentic that he had prostrated. So, can I prostrate? Yes. But what you can't do, that is to pray all the time without not prostration. Do you understand that? Can I prostrate? Yes, you can. Just shoot it out. But what you can't do, that the people got this Imam every time he recites the surah, he what? Makes sujood. That's not from the sunnah. You understand that shit? So if you recite the Alif Lam Mim, the people has to know that you don't have to make sujood tilawah. So in the narrations of the hadith, not a single authentic narration that the Prophet of Allah made sujood tilawah when he recited Surah Al-Sajdah in Yawm al-Jumu'ah, the first rak'ah. But you can make sujood tilawah, but you can't make the people think that it is with sujood tilawah. That some of the Imam made it so much that every time they recite Surah Al-Sajdah, they make sujood tilawah, and they will never ever recite other than Surah Al-Sajdah on the day of Jumu'ah, which is wrong as well again. Okay? And that the people start to think that they have to have sujood tilawah regardless of the surah in the first rak'ah. That is why Shaykh Al-Albaani said, one day I was going to a camp to give talks, Shaykh Al-Albaani. Okay? And it was the Jumu'ah morning. They made me to lead them. So I read Surah Yusuf. Shaykh Al-Albaani said I was not really in full memory of that surah of Surah Sajdah. He did not revise it properly. So he recited from Surah Yusuf. So in the first rak'ah, he said Allahu Akbar. He went for ruku'. People went to what? Automatically, autopilot. Autopilot, sujood. They believe the first rak'ah, you have to have sujood tilawah. One day the Shaykh Al-Albaani came to a masjid. He says that the Imam was not there. Who could be the masjid of his in Jordan? I can't remember what he was saying. And the Muaddin looked, oh, Shaykh Al-Albaani. Shaykh. He was Surah Al-Jumu'ah. So, Shaykh, he forwarded himself to lead the prayer. He said, I did not prepare Alif Lam Mim Tanzil. So I read Surah Maryam. He said, Kaf, Ha, Ya, Ayn, Sad. Do you understand that? When you said it? Kaf, Ha, Ya, Ayn, Sad. Does it sound like Alif Lam Mim Tanzil? Does it sound like that? But still they made sujood tilawah in the first rak'ah. I've done Kaf, Ha, Ya, Ayn, Sad. He said Allahu Akbar, people want sujood tilawah. And when he makes sujood tilawah, they forced him to make, they said to him, you have to make sujood sahwa. That's how the people think. Because of their imams, what they used to this. Especially the people who are following the madhab al-Shafi'i. Okay? So it's not correct to recite the Alif Lam Mim Tanzil Sajda in every time of Al-Fajr. Number two, if you recite it, it is not correct to make people think that you have to have sujood tilawah. So the Imam has to sometimes not make sujood tilawah. Okay? That's the second issue. And the third issue is wrong what some of the people they do in our countries. Not here, alhamdulillah. Not the Qunut. Qunut is different. I'm talking about this Alif Lam Mim Tanzil. They recite part of it. Half Tanzil Sajda and half Surah Al-Dahr. Do you understand? Have you heard about this?
Yeah.
Half. Yeah. Because it scared the people. They said too long. You know, you recite Sajda complete in a complete recitation, and Surah Al-Insan complete recitation, 2 rak'ah, it takes 16 minutes plus. 16 minutes plus. No way people will stay for 16 minutes. 10 minutes for them is 12 minutes. 16, 17 minutes, they might leave the prayer and leave you on your own. 17 is a long. So that's what they do, the Imam, short. From there, أَفَمَنْ كَانَ مُؤْمِنًا كَمَنْ كَانَ فَاسِقًا, and then continue. Khalas, skip the fun. All they receive from the beginning of it until the sujood. And that's it. Or until فَمَنْ كَانَ مُؤْمِنًا. Or the Surah Al-Dahr, let me recite half of it, third of it, two-thirds of it, Allahu A'lam. I can't remember what the Imam used to recite for us, and I used to tell him, what are you doing? It's a bid'ah. Shaykh Ibn Baz talked about it, Shaykh Al-Albaani talked about it, Shaykh Al-Madhabi talked about it. The scholars before, Imam Ibn Hajar, al-Ajab, also Imam Ibn Al-Qayyim in Az-Zad talked about it. Imam Ibn Al-Qayyim, he said that he had the Prophet ﷺ used to recite them complete. And he says, the reason of reciting these two surahs is what these surahs had contained from the beginning, which is how the people created, and the mi'ad, which is the destiny, the return, the day of resurrection, and also the creation of Adam and entering paradise, and also وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ entering the hellfire, what is going to be taking place, which will take place on the day of Jumu'ah. You know, the Jumu'ah is the day of resurrection. The trumpet will sound on the day of Jumu'ah. People will be doomed to the Jumu'ah. They will come out on the Jumu'ah. So that is why to remind them in those things about these two surahs, which is Surah Hal Ata, first rak'ah is Surah Alif Lam Mim Tanzil al-Kitab, which is Surah Al-Sajdah, and the second one after the Fatiha, Surah Hal Ata ala al-Insan, Surah Al-Dahr aw al-Insan. These are the two benefits that we gain from that. Fadl.
He used to make the first rak'ah longer than the second.
And that's another issue. Always, he used to make the first rak'ah, most of the time, more than the second. But we know that he recited إِذَا زُلْزِلَتْ, and إِذَا زُلْزِلَتْ, that means that what?
Similar.
The same. إِذَا زُلْزِلَتْ, إِذَا زُلْزِلَتْ. They are the same. And we know that also he recited, first one, هَلْ سَبِّحِ اسْمَ رَبِّكَ الْأَعْلَى, second rak'ah, هَلْ أَتَاكَ حَدِيثُ الْغَاشِيَةِ. Which one is longer? Al-Ghashiyah. So the second rak'ah was slightly longer than the first rak'ah. But most of the time, we used to make the first rak'ah longer. That's the etiquette than the second rak'ah. Most of the time. Fadl.
Recitation in the Sunnah prayer before Fajr. His recitation in the two rak'ahs of Sunnah in Fajr used to be extremely short. So much so that Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, used to say, has he recited Surah Al-Fatiha or not?
Right. As for the Sunnah al-Fajr, what did the Prophet ﷺ used to recite? He used to make it light recitation. It doesn't mean light recitation is only the Fatiha. Now Aisha radiallahu anha, she's saying that he used to make it so short that I'm not sure that did he recite the Fatiha itself or not. Of course he recited the Fatiha. But Al-Imam Al-Qurtubi Rahimahullāh, what he says? He says, this doesn't mean that she was doubting the recitation of the Prophet of Allah of the Fatiha, but it means that he used to make the other nawafil, other voluntary supererogatory prayers to be long. When he made this particular two rak'ah of the Fajr light, so it is like he has recited nothing in comparison to the other voluntary. Do you understand that? So because he made his recitation, the other voluntary, to be long, so compared to that, it's like he recited nothing in these two rak'ah of the Fajr, which is before the Fajr. So the Sunnah is to recite light, okay? And this is the madhab of Imam Malik, Imam Shafi'i, and other scholars. Some of the Salaf, they said, no harm to make it long, because you can see now, also,
sometimes after Al-Fatiha say we believe in Allah and the revelation given to us.
قولوا آمنا بالله وما أنزل إلينا. Surah Al-Baqarah, and also Surah Al-Imran, قل يا أهل الكتاب تعالوا إلى كلمة سواء بيننا وبينكم ألا نعبد إلا الله. So it recites
in the second ayah, the ayah say, O people of the book, come to common terms as between us and you. In Ali Imran.
Right. These are the two. So we recite some portions from Surah Al-Baqarah, and he would recite some portions from Surah Al-Imran. Remember, this is in the two Sunnah of the Fajr. It's not the obligatory. Also,
just quick clarification here.
Yeah.
He recite just that part only.
No, it's not.
Just complete ayah.
It's not. No, it's not. Sometimes he would recite it more than that. So some of the recitation would be not just that ayah up to the ayah. Sometimes the ayah in itself, but it means as well that he recited more than that. But he would not recite to the end of the Baqarah, nor he would recite to the end of Ali Imran and the two Sunnah. Okay, now.
Occasionally, he would recite instead of the letter when Isa found unbelief on their part.
فلما أحس عيسى منهم الكفر قال من أنصاري إلى الله. So this is also he would recited to the end of the verse, and sometimes he would recite
Surah Al-Kafirun in the first rak'ah and Surah Al-Ikhlas in the second.
And also
he used to say, an excellent pair of the surah they are.
And he had a man
reciting the former surah in the first rak'ah. So he said, this is a slave who believes in his Lord. Then the man recited the latter surah in the second rak'ah. So he said, this is a slave who knows his Lord.
When I'm just reading now, when the question you just asked, it looks like our Shaykh Al-Albaani, he says that it's actually one ayah he will recite. Yeah, so it is, our Shaykh, he says just that ayah. So it looks like he recites just that ayah. And that is قولوا آمنا بالله وما أنزل إلينا وما أنزل إلى إبراهيم وإسماعيل وإسحاق ويعقوب والأسباط وما أوتي موسى وعيسى وما أوتي النبيون من ربهم لا نفرق بين أحد منهم ونحن له مسلمون. That we recited just like that. And the other one قل يا أهل الكتاب تعالوا إلى كلمة سواء بيننا وبينكم ألا نعبد إلا الله ولا نشرك به شيئا ولا يتخذ بعضنا بعضا أربابا من دون الله إن تولوا فقولوا اشهدوا بأننا مسلمون. Also sometimes it would recite instead of it فلما أحس عيسى منهم الكفر قال من أنصاري إلى الله قال الحواريون نحن أنصار الله واشهد بأننا مسلمون. طيب تفضل. So it basically is a light rak'ah to rak'ah. It's a light two rak'ah. It's not supposed to be long. So if any person recited long recitation in that, this is against the sunnah. It's against the sunnah. So it's not supposed to be long recitation of the two rak'ah before the fajr. The two rak'ah of the fard is supposed to be in general longer than the two which is the sunnah. Dhuhr, please.
Now on the next page, page number 32, Dhuhr prayer. He sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to recite Al-Fatiha and two surahs in the first two rak'ah, making the first one longer than the second.
Right, so always he's making the first two rak'ah longer than the other two rak'ah and making the first longer than the second. So the first two rak'ah longer than the third and the fourth, and he's also making the first longer than the second. Also the third will be longer than the fourth. And the first two will be longer than the last two. So he would recite Al-Fatiha and two surahs in the two rak'ah. And he will do in the first longer what he does in the second. Okay? Sometimes in these two rak'ah he will recite a bit loud in order for us, for the companions, to hear the ayat. And he does like this as well in the Asr. Fadl.
Sometimes he would lengthen it to the extent that the Dhuhr prayer would have started and someone could go to the plain, Al-Baqi, fulfill his need, come back to his place, make his ablution, and then come to the mosque while the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was still in the first rak'ah. It was that long.
So Prophet of Allah, he would start his first rak'ah. His recitation would be, in time-wise, that this person will go to the Baqi. This is where they used to defecate, the place where of relieving himself, go to the toilet. And after that, he would go to his house, make wudu. And he comes to the masjid and the Prophet of Allah is still in the first rak'ah. If you are really want to count for that, it could be from 10 to 20 minutes. 10 minutes to 20 minutes for first rak'ah. 10 minutes to 20 minutes for the person to relieve himself and then go to the house. And then, okay, so if you could count it, it would be from 10 to 20 minutes for first rak'ah. Now,
also they used to think that he did it so that the people could catch the first rak'ah.
So he also used to do it. The Prophet, the companion, would think that he's doing it so that he would prolong the rak'ah for the people to catch with the prayer. Now,
he used to recite in each of these two rak'ah about 30 ayat, such as Al-Fatiha followed by Surah As-Sajdah. Sometimes he would recite by the sky and the night visitant, Tariq.
yes.
by the sky displaying the constellation Al-Buruj, by the night as it conceals al-layl, and similar surahs.
Right, so here, sometimes, it says here, he would recite in the 2 rak'ah 30 ayah, just like reciting sajda and also the Fatiha. And also, he would recite Sama'i wal-Tariq, Sama'i wal-Buruj, wal-Layli idha yaghsha. It would be better to recite them in Arabic, that's the meaning of them. And also, he would recite Ida Sama'un shaqqat, and
by the night that it, when the sky is rent asunder, in Shaykh, and similar ones. They could tell that he was reciting in Dhuhr and Asr from the movement of his beard.
Right, so his Dhuhr and Asr, we said, sometimes they will know it with the movement of his beard, and sometimes he would make it as well loud recitation. طيب, I will stop here inshallah.